nutrition is the basis of fitness. It's the basis of mental health. It's the basis of physical strength.
When you eat bad and you eat a bunch of junk food and drink a lot of soda and eat a lot of sugar and things like that, it makes you feel bad. So when you feel bad physically, you feel bad mentally. So it makes you lazy. It makes you not want to do things. It makes you not want to go out. It can also lead to depression. It affects how you respond to people. It affects the way you think. It affects your sleep patterns. It affects what you do in your daily life. So it's really important to make sure that you eat properly and eat the foods that benefit you.
So you can think of what we eat as the building blocks of our body, because it's true. We can only use what we eat to build who we are. So we become what we eat. When it comes to the mind, our brains are very sensitive to what we eat. Inflammation is this big umbrella term that covers all of these responses that our body has to feeling attacked. Inflammation looks different in every part of the body, but in the brain, it can cause a lot of really unexpected effects. Migraines and maybe moodiness and sleepiness. But in the long term, if our brains are sick and we don't take care of it and help reduce the inflammation in our brain, then it can actually contribute to the decline of our mental health. When we eat things that are nutrient dense, like fruits and vegetables, then it contributes to the health of our bodies. When we eat things that are inflammatory or that our bodies recognize as toxins, such as a lot of the food additives, hydrogenated oils, a lot of the Franken foods that we see in the processed foods that are sold today, those things contribute to inflammation in the body and are seen as toxic by our body, and our body really fights to get rid of the effects of those toxins in our body.
My mom, she had the Three Musketeers: diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, and she radically changed her diet from what we all normally eat to a plant-based diet. She became really, really mindful and made sure that she didn't have any meat or any dairy or any animal products in her diet, and she actually turned her numbers around to be able to come off a lot of her medication and lowered her A1C, which is the way that they measure whether or not you're diabetic or not, down to almost pre-diabetes levels. She got it down so far that the medical group that where her doctor practiced wanted to do a story about her in their newsletter. My husband, who also had some real major issues just from eating the way that we all eat, and he was able to turn his kidney injury around to what a normal man his age would be, just from being mindful about the foods that he was taking in and being mindful about making sure that there was nothing that was going to harm his kidneys or harm or increase his diabetes. So the foods that if you're mindful about the foods that you're eating, you can turn your entire health around for the better.
I used to be really sick, and I don't think I realized how much the foods I was eating were affecting my life. I took these really commonly irritating ingredients out of my diet for a certain amount of time. And then when I noticed that certain things, certain symptoms that were bothering me had disappeared, I started to reintroduce things back into my diet, one ingredient at a time. And between each ingredient, I would wait to see how my body reacted to that ingredient. In my experience, I've seen that when people know exactly how certain foods affect their bioindividuality, they feel empowered to change their diet, to change what they're eating, because they know they would rather live in the body that isn't affected by those foods than continue to live with the side effects of continuing to have those things in their diet. I was so impacted by the changes in my life that came from changing my diet that I decided that I wanted to go into nutrition as a profession so that I could help as many people as possible feel empowered to change their own diet.
I think it's really difficult for people to change their eating habits because food is really more complicated than just being food. It's not just, a source of energy or fuel. There's a lot of layers to it. Food can be entertainment, it can be comfort, it can be community, it can be culture. So when you're trying to change your eating habits without taking a look at these other aspects and your relationship with food, it's going to be really, really hard to sustain. And I also think there's a lot of misinformation about what healthy eating should look like. We hear a lot about vegan diets, keto diets, extreme eating plans like that, and we think we have to do something like that. So we just go all in on a particular type of diet, and we're just one cheat meal away from just throwing in the towel and going back to the drawing board. So it really makes a lot more sense when you create gradual, slow changes instead of having an all or nothing mindset. That really makes it a lot harder to make changes but also sustain them. Keep in mind that changing your eating habits may require you to go a little bit outside of your comfort zone, to do a little bit of exploration. So you have to mentally prepare for the fact that it's not going to be a simple process. It's not just like flipping a switch and you're good to go. I think the best thing that you can do is to just keep an open mind and really keep a spirit of adventure.
In a forest with no paths, the more you walk the same trail over and over again, the more worn the path becomes. And that's how it is in our brains. When we try something new, it's like trying to get through a forest that's really bushy and full of brambles and thorns and leaves. It's like trying to get from one side of the forest to another, and the whole forest is like that. It's really difficult. And so our brain doesn't like that. It's not safe, it's not efficient. And so what happens is our brain throws a tantrum. So the way that this tantrum manifests is a lot of times voices telling you that you can't do it in your head, like you're not good enough or this is stupid, a lot of voices of criticism. Or sometimes you'll feel it as resistance, right? Like, I can't do this, like I don't know how to do this. Most of the time, when our brain throws a tantrum, we give in. And that's because our brain is trying to protect us. Our brain is trying to make sure that we don't use too much energy going down a path that's never been walked before, that's never been, explored. That's scary for a brain. But when we change, when we do something over and over again, it becomes easier and easier. So our goal when we're changing our diet is to do something like cooking a meal enough times that our brain stops telling us, this is scary, this is not good, this is not right, we shouldn't be doing this. Telling our brain that, yes, we can do this. And then our brain starts to see patterns. It starts to feel easier. We kind of get in the groove. When we do something enough, we start to get into the state of flow. So the most wealthy, the most popular, the most well-known corporations that sell food hire these people called flavor scientists. And the specific goal of a flavor scientist is to make food so addicting and appealing that people will buy it over and over and over again. And that is meant so that these companies will make profit selling their processed foods. They add flavor that is hyper stimulating to the brain. It is a flavor that your brain will never experience in nature. Salt, sugar, and umami. So they make something super salty, super sweet, or in the case of MSG, super umami. In nature, something that's hyper flavorful means that it's full of nutrients. If something is super sweet, it means it's full of glucose. It might be an apple or a pear or an orange. If something is super salty, it is full of minerals. And the more processed food you eat, the more normal it seems for food to have those flavors. Because remember I said, the more often that our brain does something, the more that path is worn in our brain. It starts to seem normal. And so when we try to change what we're eating, we're going up against these two big problems. One is that changing what we're eating requires learning new skills, trying new things. The second thing, natural food, could never hope to reach the level of stimulation that the flavor scientists have put in processed food. When our brain eats those new foods, they taste bland, they taste boring, they taste, uninteresting, they might even taste bad. So when we go out to change our diet, when we set out to change our diet, it's important to know what obstacles are in front of us. It's important to know that it will be difficult because you're teaching your brain something new, and your brain doesn't really like to learn new things.
It's difficult to change your eating habits when you don't have a direct connection to the food that you are eating.
When I started Feed Our Soul, I was really just focused on changing my diet and also helping others change their diet as well. But then it grew to such a deeper understanding of not only myself, but of the world and of the environment around me. And I believe that it's important to understand that your environment is a key factor in your health. And so which is why food deserts and food insecurity is such a crisis, because it's literally dictating your food environment. And so when Feed Our Soul birthed, it was really because I was thinking, okay, how do I change my immediate environment so that I can access fresh vegetables and fresh fruit, because I am always on a budget and I am looking for a way to sustainably have a healthy lifestyle, and the best way to do that is to grow my own food. I still am wrapping my head around, how food is costing so much when the earth is free and the soil around us is free. And so all it really is just learning, right? It's just learning how to take care of a plant and create an environment that's efficient enough for it to then produce more fruit. Well, here are 3 simple steps that you can start today in order to change your diet. Step 1 is to cook your own food. That means when you go to the grocery store, first go to the grocery store and cook your own food and create your own diet and meal plan, right? That doesn't mean it has to be strict. It doesn't mean it has to be perfect, but just having a plan for the week of what you're going to eat really helps with portion control. It also helps with figuring out what you're going to buy. We rely so much on ordering out all the time. We don't know how much salt or sugar or is going into outside products. But if you control your environment and control your kitchen and control your intake by cooking your own food, using fresh herbs, and making it so that you know exactly what's going into your food. That is one way how you can absolutely control your diet. The second step I would probably say is to drink more water. If you drink more water, then that not only helps start your digestive system, it helps flush your system, and it constantly is having your system work through and push that food down and out of your body. Food, it comes in, but it also has to come out, and you have to push out all those things. And so it might seem a little gross, but you should be having bowel movements multiple times a day. Whether you're going to the bathroom or going to the restroom, that is really how you know your body is working. So if you drink more water, lots and lots of water, then that will kind of help facilitate that process, so that you know that your food is being processed fully to its fullest effect. It's less time for food to be translated into fat, and it also empties out your body so that you can then eat more food. The third thing that I would say for you is to start your day with fruit. We, as Americans, we start our day with like eggs and bacon and pancakes and hash browns. It's very, very carb heavy. But if you go outside to the Caribbean culture, if you look at the African culture, if you look at the Hispanic culture, they really start their day off, with fresh fruit. So I would say if you invest in a really great blender, or invest in either a really good NutriBullet, and then start making smoothies, or you can start making fresh pressed juices if you want to, take that next step. But if you or even just eating fresh fruit whole. But starting your day off with fruit gives your body that sugar rush that it needs in order for your brain to wake up in the morning. And it also, is delicious.
First and foremost, slow down. Actually take your time with your meal. Breathe, smell, taste, chew, savor, and enjoy your food, because being in a relaxed state activates the biochemistry required for proper digestion and nutrient assimilation. Whereas eating too fast or eating while multitasking can create stress chemistry in the body, which can impair digestion and lead to unwanted health issues. Next, upgrade to higher quality, unprocessed versions of foods that you already love. Lastly, make a list of foods that you enjoy on one hand, make a list of foods that you consider to be healthy for your body on the other hand, compare the two lists, notice any overlaps, and eat more of those foods.
For anyone that's looking to change their diet, I would say start by cutting out processed food, or at least cutting down on it. Start to take a look at the labels of your favorite packaged foods and those ingredients that you don't really recognize, you can't pronounce. Yeah, they're not the best for you. And I'm not saying you have to get rid of all packaged or processed foods, but start to look out for cleaner alternatives that don't have things like highly processed oils and preservatives and artificial flavors and other chemical additives that really are not good for us. And the natural next step is to put on your apron and get into the kitchen, because when you're cooking your own food and your own meals, you can really control exactly what's going in it. And my last tip is to incorporate more plant foods. I'm not saying that you have to go full on vegan or anything like that, but fruits and vegetables and other whole foods like grains, nuts, seeds, beans, things like that have so many vitamins and minerals, and we literally need those to survive. So start slow, adding 1 or 2 new things here and there. Keep an open mind, experiment. Oh, and one more thing. Follow people on social media who are eating the way that you want to be eating. See what they're doing, see what recipes they're making, gain inspiration from them.
A step that you could take today would be an if-then plan. So You know that your plan in the long run is to change your diet. But today, I want you to think about all of the obstacles that could come your way. And I want you to make a plan of what you will do when those obstacles come up. These types of plans are really helping you to think through things that really will happen in the real world. So if I'm trying to change my diet and I want to drink less beer, right? If my coworkers invite me to happy hour, then I will. And the idea is that you prepare yourself for these things that are part of everyday life. So maybe I'll say, then I will go out with them and I'll order a Shirley Temple. Or I'll order sparkling water. Or maybe if I don't feel like I'm ready for that, I'll say, if my coworker invites me to happy hour, then I'll say, thanks for the invite, but I don't think I'm going to be able to make it this month. Another step you can take today when you're trying to change your diet is to find a team. Reach out to someone. Maybe it's your sister, maybe it's your mom. Anyone who will cheer you on, anyone who you can call when things get tough. Start celebrating small wins. So maybe today you had 3 vegetables, 3 different types of vegetables at 3 different meals. So what if the rest of your plate maybe didn't look so good? You still ate those foods and your body is still able to use the nutrients from those foods to help you. So that's a win. That's a celebration. That's an act of rebellion. Anything that you do that is trying to change your diet should be celebrated. So if there's something that you're really trying not to eat, except maybe on special occasions, then don't buy it at the grocery store. Don't bring it into your house. Enjoy it on special occasions, but keep it special. Keep it set apart. Don't keep things in your house that you don't want to eat.
Healthy food is a direct connection to our mental health. So if we eat healthy, we feel healthy, we are more energized, and it keeps us alive longer.